Story 1. AITAH for seriously considering breaking off my engagement with my fiancé after learning about something he did when he was in high school. My fiancé and I have been together for just over 3 years. We met when I was 28 and he was 30. Things have been great and been a strong and loving relationship. It's honestly the best things that's ever happened to me. He makes me so happy and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. Or well, I did until I recently learned about some of the things he did in high school. The other day I received a DM request on Instagram from someone I didn't know. It was a girl my boyfriend went to high school with. She said she didn't know me but knew him and just wanted to tell me something before he got married. I don't know how she knows about us. Anyways, she told me that back when they were in 11th grade she has a friend who was disabled and in a wheelchair, and that apparently my boyfriend and his friends all relentlessly bullied her. She told me that one night after a football game that my boyfriend grabbed wheelchair and flipped it over, and that she flipped with it, and that he and his friends dumped beer and threw garbage at her, and that a few weeks after that he did it again a couple of days before the end of the school year. He dumped a gallon of milk on her, and that she ended up killing herself. And my boyfriend and his friends all got in trouble, but in the end nothing happened, except getting expelled. I asked her why she is telling me all of this, and she said that girl was her friend, and that my boyfriend's actions led her to commit suicide, and that she just wants everyone in his life to be aware of who he is. She provided proof with links to an obituary and her class yearbook. I believe her. My boyfriend said he was a bit of class clown and troublemaker bake in high school, but I never expected this. I'm actually crying writing this and I don't know why. I feel like if this all true I cannot be with him, even though he's only ever been a gentleman to me. Would I be an asshole to break up with him over something he did almost 20 years ago when he was a kid? First comment. This just seems so bogus. All of a sudden in 11th grade your BF turns into a huge BY who flips a girl in her wheelchair twice, and he got a slap on the wrist? The school would not have overlooked that level of bullying purely for the liability legality part of it. And the girl's family didn't press charges? If he literally flipped her like you were told, there's no way she wouldn't have been injured. That's not a slapped her books out of her hands bullying situation. That is assault, and there's no way it would have gone unpunished. Some things for you to consider. This girl could be a stalker who was obsessed and maybe even rejected by your BF in high school. Maybe he was mean to her, but it wasn't on a shocking enough scale, so she twisted the story to fit her narrative. She's proven the girl existed and died and that she went to high school with your boyfriend, but the rest is hearsay. Did she show you any actual proof of the bullying? You haven't talked to your BF about this yet. Why? Some random sends you a message like that and you're going to go with it instead of reserving judgment until you talk to the man you agreed to marry and spend your life with? He deserves more respect than that. If you really can't bring yourself to talk to him for some weird reason, talk to his family, any high school friends you know of. Do some sort of research that doesn't rely solely on this person's words. Second comment. Let's be clear. That wasn't 20 years ago, it's closer to 10 than 20. Not that that should make any difference. I can't blame you for considering walking away. That's horrible. I would say if you want to see whether he's grown into a better human, just ask him and see how he describes the situation. If you believe it happened, then what does he say happened? Does he seem contrite about what he did? Does he attempt to hide parts of it? If he doesn't have genuine sorrow for those behaviors and isn't able to be totally upfront about his contribution to it, it's an immediate no. I'm not saying you can't leave now if you want, but if you want to try and give him a chance, that's the first place to start. NTA. There are behaviors that are going to make a person repugnant to you, and there's a reason for that feeling. His actions, if the information you're providing here is true, suggest a person of vile character that bullies others and abuses people that are weaker. Story 2. AITAH for being hurt. My ex-wife said she never liked SX until she met her new husband. Advice needed. Title basically lays it out. My wife and I were married for 12 years. We were in love once, but we drifted apart. We mutually agreed on a divorce. We are better off friends than dating. Our lives are very much intertwined. There's no way for a clean break, unfortunately, even if this situation makes me run away. One big thing that broke apart our marriage was that she didn't enjoy SX. She didn't like giving head. She didn't like certain positions or dirty talk. She was a starfish half the time. She might have faked her enthusiasm in the beginning, but over time she decided to give up faking. We ended divorcing for this and other matters. Like I said, we remain friends. She remarried a couple years ago. The new husband and I are friends. He's a little weird, but he's handsome and a good guy, and he treats her well. Two of our friends held a dinner party. They revealed that she was pregnant. That wasn't the point of the dinner, but they wanted to congratulate her. I was happy for her. She admitted it was an accidental pregnancy, but she and her husband were thrilled. After some discussion, she said she didn't know what was wrong with her, but she didn't like SX until she met her new husband. It was a passing comment to someone, but I did hear it. I texted her about it, and she apologized and said she shouldn't have said it at the party. She assured me it wasn't about me, but about her own body, which stung worse. My GF thinks my ex-wife just stuck her food in her mouth and didn't realize I would overhear. I still feel upset, however. AITAH for feeling this way? First comment. I try to get people to think rationally. Here's rationality, it's either that. There's some pheromone her new hubby emits that indicates to her subconscious that he's likely to produce offspring with smaller % chance of genetic defect. This causes her to desire him more even if they never intend to have children. He's physically more attractive than you fit her, less FT, whatever. He just looks better to her than you ever did. This is her fitting function, maybe even subconscious. Possibly you are even on average better looking, but her preferences are not average. Maybe you can and should get in better shape etc, and this may or may not have influenced her. Possibly this physical attraction is really that he makes better jokes, or jokes less. Possibly he earns more, or even if less, is in a lower-key cooler industry. Again, maybe you could improve or change you on this, but no guarantee it would have made you S-ier to her. Possibly he's just better at SX than you. He lasts longer or shorter. He's more in sync to what gets her off. His sperm tastes better because of his diet. Who knows, maybe your current girlfriend has different tastes, or just has a higher likes SX baseline. Maybe you've improved. Who knows, all you know it that it didn't work out. Life is short, move on. She was a super ass for discussion this comparing in public on something you cannot defend yourself on except by being witty in the moment my lifelong hobby, as I immediately thought totally. That makes two of us. I low-key don't feel like I'm masturbating inside a dead fish anymore. Yes, my humor often gets me in trouble. Second comment. Cow. Unfortunately, a lot of men are like this. They don't make any effort at all to make it enjoyable for her. No oral, no fingering, nothing. Simply penetrative SX and blowjobs, and maybe a perfunctory "was that good for you" after he comes, and then assume their partner simply doesn't like SX. But instead of addressing that, if your partner just doesn't like SX, that's a discussion. Not a "well, we need to be having SX at least once a week," they just have SX as often as their partner will let them and resent the starfish. If your partner is giving you blowjobs, you should be reciprocating in kind. If you don't want to give oral, you shouldn't expect oral at all ever. If you think penetrative SX alone is going to cut it, for most women it won't. If you want a woman to be amazed at your sexual prowess, you need to put forth actual effort, and not just use her as a glorified real doll, and then wonder why she doesn't ever seem enthused to have SX with you. Op should feel bad, honestly. 12 years of bad SX, and he's offended that she's found someone who can do it right. Story 3. AITAH for considering divorce because my wife had a one-night stand when we were separated for 7 months. My wife 32F and I 34M have been married for 8 years. We have no children. To provide some more background, my sister had finalized her divorce proceedings last year. Her ex-husband had berated her and blamed her a lot because she had 3 miscarriages. It was the darkest moment in her life. She quit her job, and when she called me and broke down in tears, she asked if I could stay over at her place for a few days. I did, and she asked if I could stay over at her place for a few months. This was a big decision, so I told my sister I would go back home, discuss with my wife, and then let her know. I went back home and told my wife everything, and asked if I could stay over at my sister's place for a few months. We discussed this over the next few days, and my wife and I decided that I could, and I thanked my wife a lot. I do work remote, and that worked in my favor. I stayed over at my sister's place for a few months till she got her bearings in order. She has a new job now. She understands now that her ex-husband is a POS, and that nothing was her fault. She was very thankful that I stayed, and she did want me to stay for more, but I had to go back home to my wife. When I got back home, my wife was very happy, and we carried on with our life as normal. However, a couple of nights ago, my wife wanted to get something off her chest as she felt extremely guilty hiding it from me for so long. She said she had a one-night stand a couple of months after I left to my sister's, and she badly regretted it. My wife was crying a lot, and she said she just felt lonely, but the SX with that Tinder hookup made her realize SX is meaningless with love. I was a bit numb and stunned, and I told my wife I needed a few days to process everything. It's been a couple of days and I don't think I can reconcile with my wife. My love for her has massively diminished. Would I buy the for considering divorce? First comment. AITAH. You spent 7 months away for your wife as your decision to take care of your sister? 7 months without being with your wife at all. WTF is wrong with you? That kind of thing happens if you are in the Navy and are deployed on a submarine for 3 to 6 months, depends upon if it is a ballistic sub vs an attack sub. Those are things that are unavoidable. Nothing said that you couldn't spend at least some time with your wife, have her come out for weekends, rush home for a few days to be with her. You know, the things that someone who is married would put every effort into doing. You essentially abandoned her for 7 months. Then you play word games with the title of your post and use the word separated as if it was due to some sort of relationship difficulty. The only relationship difficulty I see is the one where you are willing to ditch your wife for 7 months to go and babysit your sister. This is either a complete BS story or there is much more going on. I wonder just how solid your relationship was with your wife before you decided to go jaunt off to your sister's house for 7 months.